Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Discriminating Gamer. Somebody broke into my house and stole my limbo stick. How low can you go? Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at Metal Gear Solid, the board game from CMON. In Metal Gear Solid, the board game from CMON, one of four players take on the roles of highly secret operatives as they attempt to penetrate and infiltrate installations in the hopes of gaining intel and other goodies and take down the bad guys. Let's take a look. So players take on the roles of the various characters in the Metal Gear franchise. You can be Meryl, you can be Gray Fox, you can be Octagon, and you can be Snake himself. Now, this can be played as a campaign or it can be played with standalone scenarios. Now, I have not yet played the campaign, so I'm just commenting on my experience with some of these standalone scenarios that I've played. Essentially, what you're going to do is set up the board. You're going to go ahead and set up different large tiles that indicate different places in the installation. You may attach certain other little tiles to them. You're going to place things like cameras on the board or locked doors on the board or even terminals on the board. And then you're going to have a starting space for your characters. And of course, you can choose how many characters you're going to play. And then you're going to put guards. Usually you got 3 guards to a section on the board. Now, each player has 4 action tokens, and you've got your own player board, and it kind of has a space for where you can put those action tokens. So you can play up to those 4 action tokens. You can kind of move, sneak around, in which case you're not going to move very far. You can dash, in which case you're going to move, but there's a chance of making noise. You can interact with objects. You can try to take down the guards, engage in combat. So there's all sorts of different actions that you can do during the game. Now, critically, too, a lot of times you'll take kind of tests for die rolls. Like if you're trying to get into the terminals or trying to open the doors, you do the interact action. Now, you're going to roll a die. Now, if you do the interact, normally you're going to roll 2 black die, which are fine, and 1 white die. And the white die, there's a potential there to alert the guards. So you're going to go ahead and roll the die. If you alert the guards, essentially you're going to put your blue tile out there, and they're going to come looking. Now, if they spot you, it's going to be a red tile, kind of the last place where you were. So you want to be careful about having those tiles on the board. It's better just to remain stealthy. Now, critically, as you're doing things during your turn, you also have kind of 4 tokens, and you can flip these tokens. You can spend these tokens in order to give you certain advantages. For instance, some tokens might allow you to alter die rolls positively or negatively. Some might give you a whole nother action. There's all sorts of things that these tokens can do, but then it's going to cost you in order to bring them back into the game. Now, once all the characters have finished doing the things they need to do, you're going to go ahead and activate the guards. Now, typically, you're going to draw a card for every tile where one of the operatives is on. So if you're all in one space, you're just going to draw 1. If you're in 2 different spaces, you'll draw 2, etc., etc. Of course, if there's a boss, the boss will move first. But if there's no boss on the board, you're going to go ahead and draw the cards for the guards. And there's different things these cards will say. There's different actions. They may call for reinforcements. They may switch the cameras. For instance, sometimes the cameras look at the orange side, sometimes they look at the green side. And if you're in their line of sight, you're screwed. So there's different things they're going to do. And then the guards themselves will move. They will actually move a number of spaces. And if they land on one of these kind of turn areas, they will actually turn in a direction. And if they're ever facing a wall, they'll just automatically turn. So there's all sorts of things that are going to happen there with the guards. Now, if they see you, there's going to be the alert status, and they can actually take shots and try to take you down. Now, the whole time, the players are attempting to fulfill specific objective goals of the scenario. So players are moving around the board. They are trying to interact with various objects. They are taking down guards. And of course, the guards themselves are activating and trying to hunt down and find the operatives. As soon as your team is able to complete the objectives of that specific scenario, then you win. Metal Gear Solid, the board game.
We'll get back to the review in just a moment. I want to take a minute to ask you to check out my other channel, that is Cody Carlson, PhD, where we talk about history, books on history, military history. I even post some of my lectures for my classes on there. Please check that out. Please subscribe to that channel. And now, back to the review.
Okay, so there's a lot more going on here. And like I say, I'm just talking about the basics of the standalone scenarios. I'm not even getting into the campaign. I'm somebody who I'm kind of reluctant to engage in campaigns because they just take up so much time, and I'm somebody who kind of I review so many new games. I don't have the time for a lot of campaigns, but I consider doing this one at some point because, frankly, it's fun. What I played through with the scenarios has been fun. Ray and I played through a scenario. I played some solo, and this is a fun game. Now, there were some issues in the rule book. Some of the things weren't as clear as we wanted them to be, specifically some of the things like with doors and interaction and stuff like that we weren't 100% on board with. Ultimately, we figured them out, though. But generally, this is what I like about this game is it really brings the flavor of the video game. I was a big fan of the video game back in the days, played it on PlayStation, but I really enjoyed it. I really got a lot of fun out of Metal Gear Solid, or the Metal Gear games, over the course of the years. And then when I saw that they actually built the board game, and then I saw it was CMON, I was thinking, oh, this could be something pretty special. And it is. And I like this game because the emphasis here is not on combat. Now, there is combat in it, but it is really a game about trying to be as sneaky, as slippery as you can. And that is really fun. And the game that this reminds me most of is V Commandos, which, of course, is a great World War II game where you're sneaking around and you do fight, but you're trying to avoid that as much as possible. So they both have that element there, which is something I really enjoy. I actually ended up giving my V Commandos to Ray when I did the Great Purge of last year, just because I can't keep them all. And he hasn't played that one yet, but after playing Metal Gear Solid, he's like, I got to play V Commandos if it's like this. And there's some similarities. They're different games to be sure, but there's some similarities. But if you do like the video game of Metal Gear, I think this is probably a must-have because it's good. It's really good. And if you're somebody that's not familiar with Metal Gear, you still might want to check it out because it's something unique. It's a dungeon crawl that is not just a shoot 'em up, right? I kind of think my go-to when I think of a dungeon crawl is like Zombicide, which is all just about blowing away zombies, right? And this is a little more subtle, but this has got some great components, beautiful presentation, looks great, but there's some solid gameplay here too. So Metal Gear Solid, I'm going to go ahead on the Cody scale. I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. I really had a lot of fun with it, and like I say, at some point I may even engage in the campaign. Well, thank you once again for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we'd ask you to please leave a comment for us here on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page. Check us out on social media, Facebook, Twitter, X. And please, as I say, leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you. Please like and subscribe this video on YouTube. We'd ask you to give it a thumb on Board Game Geek as well. And if you really do enjoy the content we bring you here, I would ask you to check out my other channel, that is Cody Carlson, PhD, where we talk about military history, books on history, fun things like that. It would mean the world to me if you would subscribe to that channel as well. Also, too, if you do like this channel, I would humbly ask you to click on the Super Thanks button and leave a tip. You know, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to tell you a joke about a leech, but I won't, because it sucks. Please somebody help me on my feet again, and I don't know where I'm going, and I don't know where I've been. Please somebody help me on the solid ground. It's a long time, and I'll be dying. Once a year I wind up in the band. God knows that I love to fight.
Number 7, the Dutch. It's about how Dutch people work and live, and it's not terribly exciting. Number 6,